the party master on Up and Go, The Bridge, 99 FM.
It's 6:07 in the AM. It's Tuesday, the 28th of September. One day after former Prime Minister Bruce Golding made his first appearance as a host on this station, The Bridge, 99 FM. He hosted the program Jamaica Live from 11 until 1 yesterday, and what a start it was. Good morning, Mr. Golding. All right, it's now time for us to take a look at the headlines across the bridge here on Bridge 99 FM. We start with a look at today's Jamaica Gleaner. Visa Vice. Bruce Golding slams U.S. for playing politics. Bunting denies baiting embassy on revocation. And the story reads, in the wake of the flagging of Cabinet Minister Darrell Vaz's United States visa with a substance trafficking marker, former Jamaican Prime Minister Bruce Golding has criticized Washington for weaponizing travel documents for political ends. Vaz, who served as information minister when Golding occupied Jamaica House after winning the general election in September 2007, was on Friday issued with a one-year multiple-entry B1, B2 visitor's visa 2 years after it was revoked. But the document contained the rare annotation 212 small d 3a waiver of 212a 2c1, which covers controlled substance traffickers under U.S. immigration law. Vaz has denied any wrongdoing. Golding has insisted that the U.S. should state the reason it canceled the Science, Energy, and Technology Minister's visa and disclose the basis on which it was reissued. I don't have much faith in the U.S. government's consideration when it comes to visas. It's used as a political tool, and it may have nothing to do with any substantive facts, Golding told The Gleaner on Monday. He said the reason behind the waiver would have to be substantiated before any decision is made or considered about removing Vaz from the cabinet. What's up on the Jamaica Observer newspaper? Let's tell you. Karen Cross expelled from the PNP. Controversial activist Karen Cross has been expelled from the People's National Party, PNP, with immediate effect. The decision was taken on Monday night at a meeting of the PNP's Executive Committee, according to a statement from the party. The Executive Committee of the People's National Party, having received and considered the report of the Disciplinary Committee, and in accordance with Section 260 of the party's constitution, expelled Karen Cross from the party with immediate effect, the statement said. This action was taken at its meeting held on September 27, 2021. Cross had been brought before the party's disciplinary committee earlier this year after she made several accusations against the PNP leadership hierarchy, including its president Mark Golding and Dayton Campbell, the party's general secretary. Last Thursday, Cross was among a small group of protesters who converged on the party's Old Hope Road St. Andrew HQ, where they demanded new leadership of the 83-year-old political organization. And just to let you know that we do have a chat with the leader of the opposition, Mark Golding. I think that's going to be around about 8:30 this morning here on Up and Go. Let's go over into the Caribbean now, and we get a story from Caribbean News Now under the heading, Motley, I am not supporting mandatory vaccines. Now, in a virtual press conference following the United Nations General Assembly, Prime Minister Mia Moore Motley has reiterated that she is not for mandatory vaccination of Bajans. She said, I personally do not like the notion of mandatory vaccines. I don't. And we had said that we would work as hard as possible to get as many Barbadians sensitized, and I said that I would be the chief one out there trying to do so, even though I'm not supporting mandatory vaccines. Motley added that the government had always made the point that it would make tests freely available to people because there are some people who will never be able to be vaccinated because of various reasons, such as medical conditions, religious beliefs, and or philosophical positions. We are reaching a point where we have to sit with the private sector, public sector, and the labor movement to determine how best to use the combined approach of vaccinations and testing to ensure that those who have been vaccinated are not, unfortunately, restricted or removed from being able to pursue their living, and at the same time, those who are not vaccinated are not excluded from participation in a society across an island that is only 166 square miles. The Prime Minister denounced any attempts to divide the country, warning that divisions would not end with the COVID-19 pandemic, but would endure for generations. And we're pretty much out of time. We also see some developments between North Korea having launched a projectile missile and responses coming in from South Korea. That is definitely something that we will continue to monitor. Right now, our time is 20 minutes on the downside of 6 o'clock, 6:20 a.m. And it is Up and Go. You are on the bridge. The situation that came to my attention has to do with a teacher speaking to a student. And the teacher said, "Didn't I already tell you to stand at the end of the line, Mark?" And Mark, the student, had a response. Here's what Mark said. "Hey, miss, but I tried. But there was someone already there." I think you're smart, you know, Mark. You really think you're smart, don't you? Oh boy, the things that our teachers have to go through. She says to him, "Go to the end of the line." And he says, "I tried, but there was someone already there." And then this could cause a kerfuffle. You don't want to get yourself in a situation like this with your partner. There's a person put out there, my partner told me I was rude for yawning when we were arguing. And the response says, "I told them I wasn't yawning. I thought it was my turn to speak." Who's going to buy the drink? Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we have as our very special guest a lady who's definitely in the news. We're talking about none other than Karen Cross. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Richie. How are you doing?
Not too bad at all. Thank you for joining us at this early hour. How has your morning been?
My morning is great.
Really?
Of course.
With all the developments over the last 24 hours, your morning is great, Karen?
Boy, I can't recall one morning since March 16th that has not been a development.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you've gotten quite accustomed to it then?
I have gotten quite accustomed to development.
I want to, before we speak about the most recent developments as it relates to your affiliation or not with the People's National Party, I wanted to ask you to go back in time, if you will, Karen, and tell us about your affiliation and involvement with the People's National Party and some of the roles and responsibilities that you've had to carry out through the years, so people get an idea as to who you are and what you've been to the People's National Party.
I've been a member of the People's National Party for over 40 years. I have been a canvasser. I have been an indoor agent, outdoor agent, PD captain, managing entire voting stations. I have been just about everything. I have been treasurer, deputy general secretary, vice chairman, and national chairman of the PMP Youth Organization. I sat on the PMP National Executive Council for 25 years, in between, on and off. Mm-hmm. But that kind of thing. So that's basically, but most of all, I prefer the role of activist.
Activist.
Yeah.
Yes. So you've held high office in the organization and of choice, and now the relationship kind of got tumultuous, as some would say. You came to even further national attention with a lawsuit brought against you by Dayton Campbell. I think you actually lost judgment in that one, didn't you?
No, man. What happened? No, man. That is not even halfway over yet.
Oh, okay. Really?
What happened is that an injunction was placed on the three of us to not talk about it, not to call Dayton Campbell what he is on social media. But in spite of the injunction, I continue to do so. And so we were brought before the court for disobeying the injunction, and that was what we paid the money for, disobeying the injunction.
You made reference to we, and I think you said three. How? There are what? Yourself and two
that
other
would
members?
That would be, no man, three of us were in the lawsuit. Myself, Natalie Stack, and Michelle Stern.
Okay. Do you all work together, or just coincidental that all three of you had to face this particular situation?
I have not met either Natalie or Michelle yet, but we are, so to speak, friends on the phone and social media. We are friends, but we have not really physically met.
Mm-hmm. You intimated that the matter is not yet over. Where do you go from here in that particular matter?
I don't know. I don't really follow up the court thing. I leave that to the law and just tell me what I need to do and when court is and all of that. Because this is one of those situations. I look at life and I said to myself these days that everything happening fast and people dying faster. So I am not concerning myself with things that I have no control over. Mm-hmm. I am barely concerning myself with things that I have control over. I'm basically just living every day at a time and just watch it go through and live my life and go on with things. So I don't really follow up them kind of things. Not following them.
All right. You saw it fit yourself and a group of People's National Party supporters recently to stage a demonstration at the party's HQ on Old Hope Road. I saw a clip of it on television. I think a protest, not a demonstration, a protest, right?
No, it's a protest.
Okay, and I think I saw where you were all. I think you thought that you were locked out, and then the gates were open, but you did not, as a group, decide to go in. Why? What advised, and why did you decide to protest? What were you protesting against?
It was a simple protest. It was just meant to go up there and all the vibes with Norman Manley and Michael Manley's spirits. If we could conjure up their spirit and have a vibe with them. Tell Michael how his party is now being run and controlled by men of questionable character and men who have betrayed our party. But it was primarily to demand the resignation of Mark Golding and Dayton Campbell specifically. So that was basically what the protest was about.
Do you think it was effective?
Very, very effective.
On what basis do you come to that conclusion?
Well, the expectation from most people was that we were going to break the COVID protocol and fill the place with people, which we could have. We mobilized massively. But we thought in the morning when the police was warning me about from the morning, the day before, the police was giving me a warning about not having the crowd. So we changed tactics and said, all right, we need less than 10 people to up there. And the less people there are, the more weight our concern will be carried. And the media was there in droves. And we think that our message was and the weight of it was felt throughout the entire country. And part of that is based primarily on the media, who carried it far and wide. And secondly, on the actions of those very people that we want out of our party.
How widespread do you think the view is that that of the call for the resignation of the persons you mentioned earlier?
I'm not a pollster, but I can read Jamaican landscape politically very well. I've been doing that for a while. Mm-hmm. And I would say that maybe about 70% of the PNP people would like this leadership to leave town because they are not legitimately elected. Mark was elected on the basis of some fraud groups that Dayton Campbell and ENEL set up. And they have set about to strip down the PNP. They are to bare bones as an organization. They have brought the PNP in public disrepute with their actions as immoral and unethical people. And they have pretended that they want unity, but doing everything in their power to ensure that the PNP is not united. And all of that is so that they can hang on to power.
Many people would find that 70% estimate quite high, actually, Karen.
It is. It's probably even higher.
Yeah, wow.
It's probably even higher, but the politics is the Dayton and Peter Bunting and Mark Golding have planted a cancer in the PNP, a cancer wherein protests and disagreements and difference of opinions are not welcome. A cancer where speaking up is almost a crime. Standing up is definitely a crime. So there's a cancer running through the PMP. So basically you have the authentic PMP who basically just stay one side and watch the ride and waiting for it to be over. And then you have a few authentic PMP who decided and not staying aside and then not watching it over. And I am one of those. I am not standing by and I'm not watching it happen and be like everybody else who sits down and don't say anything. I am just saying that, it's not that you want to be the chief disruptor, but I recognize that throughout history, it is always the standing up or the protesting of one or two people that have made a difference in history. And I don't have to tell you that, you know that.
I hear you, and I have a document in front of me dated September 27, 2021. The heading is Statement from the People's National Party. It says, it's just a short paragraph, the Executive Committee of the People's National Party, having received and considered the report of the Disciplinary Committee, and in accordance with Section 260 of the party's constitution, expelled Karen Cross from the party with immediate effect. This action was taken at its meeting held on September 27, 2021, and it's over the signature of Horace Daly, acting chairman. What is your reaction? Sorry?
His signature is on it?
Well, his name is written there, so we assume based on soft copy. But first of all, what is your reaction to that now new development?
Foolishness, utter foolishness, fake. I am dismissing it with everything that's in me. First of all, the process of disciplinary action in the PMP is not as simple as how they are making that out to be. They cannot, and I repeat, they cannot expel me. There is a process for expulsion in the PMP, and the Constitution is clear on that. I am not one of those who's a great constitutionalist. I can't quote Section 1 and Section 60 off the top of my head like some people like Paul Burke or Adrian, because I can't do that. I don't follow the Constitution that great. But I know that the process is not that which they have just said. And I reject that, what they are saying, and they can't expel me with that foolishness about them beat last night and expel Karen Cross again. That is foolishness. That is utter foolishness. As far as I know,
yes,
I am a member of the People's National Party. I was a member yesterday, I'm a member this morning, and I will be a member tomorrow.
Oh.
And the day after that.
That's interesting. Have you consulted with your lawyers as yet?
No, but I don't need to consult with lawyers. I mean, it's a simple matter. The disciplinary committee met and they made a recommendation to the party. Now, this is not first-hand knowledge since nobody told me about this. I'm just hearing that. Mm-hmm. I also heard last night that the disciplinary committee recommendation to the party was suspension. So I know that this cook-up expulsion thing that they cooked up last night was because them in them feelings about last week Thursday. Them in them feelings and them need some kind of distraction this morning for the whole Peter Bunting thing. Because Peter Bunting criminality is being exposed. What he did when he was Minister of National Security. How he abuses his power of office. And also I know that it is part of what's coming on Saturday. So I know that they needed something to take Bunting off the headline. They needed something to soothe their egos that were badly bruised last Thursday.
What is coming on Saturday?
Well, yesterday morning I sent out a voice note to Region 3, which is Kingston and St. Andrew. Uh-huh. And in that voice note, I urge Region 3 delegates and leadership to stand up. Saturday is the day when Region 3 and 6 is going to be voting for NEC members, because those dates have been postponed and moved around because of the COVID protocols. Okay. And I was encouraging Region 3 that we will not stand by and watch the fraudulent group come into any of our locations, and we'll not allow them to vote if them can't prove that them are PMP, them work for PMP, them do PMP work, them vote for PMP. Them can't prove that we're not allowing them to vote.
So that's going to be...
And as far as I am concerned, that is on for Saturday.
Okay.
So the culmination of all those things that makes them do these stupid things all the time, and it will backfire on them like it always does.
Does the PNP still have your support, Karen Cross?
Absolutely. These men are not PNP. These are risers.
Okay.
I am a full PMP and a PMP member. Them could issue a statement till them fool. That can't change that.
All right. Karen, we're out of time. Thank you so much for accommodating the conversation. All the best to you.
You too, my brother.
Be safe. And do you feel safe?
I am absolutely safe.
All right. Take care. All the best.
You too.
It's time now for us to get inside of what we call For the Love of Health. We do turn about this time every weekday morning on the show. And today, inside of For the Love of Health, we look at the importance of dental care. I think that's very, very important for us to hear. Let's hear it right now.
Here's your daily dose of Up and Go's health and wellness tips. Today on For the Love of Health, we look at dental health. Dental health refers to all aspects of our mouth's health and functioning, especially the teeth and gums. Why is dental health necessary? Good oral or dental health translates to good health overall. Dental problems such as cavities or gum disease can impair your ability to eat and speak correctly, cause pain and bad breath. Here are some dental care tips. See your dentist at least twice a year. Never go to bed without brushing your teeth. Limit sugary and acidic foods. Eat crunchy fruits and vegetables. Drink more water. And don't forget to floss. That was your daily dose of Up and Go's health and wellness tips. For the love of health, right here on Up and Go.
That was For the Love of Health, and this morning the focus was on the importance of dental health. I really, really appreciate this segment, For the Love of Health, and we do get a lot of good comments about it. We'll keep it coming, For the Love of Health. And we're swinging over now to a very important discussion that is scheduled for this time, as we're joined by our good friend, Mr. Granville Valentine. He's the General Secretary of the National Workers Union, to whom we say good morning and welcome. Granville, how you doing?
Hey, I am good, Richie. Good morning to listeners, too.
Yeah, there have been widespread talks about the possibility of mandatory vaccination, Granville. You're closer to the action than we are. We're also seeing where some employers have given their employees an ultimatum to take the vaccine or face the consequences of not having a job. What is the very latest in terms of your efforts to seek, in terms of representation of your workers who are so affected?
Well, this morning at 10, we have a meeting at the Ministry of Labour with CVM and the actions that they would have taken. We are quite positive that it should be successful on the part of the workers, wherein the management has acted a little high-handed, and the management has also jumped ahead of the plans for the procedures that we would have agreed to. And when I speak of the procedures, I'm talking about the commerce, the confederation, the JEF, etc., and with some involvement of government, Chamber of Commerce, rather. So we are looking at a procedure that we'd use with all hands on deck in order to see how best we can first influence workers by encouraging them, and that we will also ensure that the workers are properly informed or educated about the vaccination and whether or not persons would have ill health concerns, etc. But the long and the short is that there is no law. And I am sure that the test of this case is that the company, the management that implement that mandatory approach will not be able to win any case against these workers. The management are asking workers to do vaccination, but are asking the workers to stand the cost. It is a standard principle that management makes of such or request of workers to do something outside of their contract of employment. Then it is the duty and responsibility of management to stand the cost of same. The next thing, the workers turn up for work. Their contract, they have not breached their contract. And these workers ought to be paid. So one of the first thing we'll be asking, who will be paying these workers who have turned up for work and you ask them not to work? Not a breach of their contract, not a breach of their job description. So we are defending the pay of those workers.
To the best of your knowledge, Granville, are there any company out there presently that is offering workers new contracts, revised contracts with clauses that relate to the mandatory vaccination issue?
Well, we have no document in hand to speak to, but we heard of suggestion of same.
Okay.
Now, that is also a breach. We have a contract or our employment letter that is, because you have employment, you have first of service, for service and off service, and either will have a clear description as to what entails on both sides, and it is negotiated. So no one party should be able to impose on workers. This is an approach, that many management are abusing their authority, their power of management, of ownership, of labor, of capital rather. And it is something that the government has a duty and responsibility to establish a policy or come with a clear position as to what they would like the nation to do. Now, you have some responsible approaches being taken by organizations such as the Confederation of Trade Unions, the Chamber of Commerce, Jeff itself. And we are looking at what are the procedures, what are the various steps that one should take that would be reasonable at the end of the day to ensure that workers have access, to ensure that workers understand, and to also ensure that the vaccine is available. So this imposition, it is one that of grave concern. In the first instance, the country doesn't have enough vaccination.
Very important point you're making. 7:40 is our time. Are we likely to see action such as strike action being taken or suggested at this time? Is it at that stage?
Well, it is at that stage, but we're using a different avenue. Because during the pandemic, you don't want people to bundle. You don't want large groups of persons protesting. And so we look at other measures. So our thing is to take it through the Ministry of Labor and maybe to the IDT. And in the meantime, while those discussions are being held, one hope and trust that good sense will prevail. And we also are calling on the government to take a stand, to say something, to stand on behalf of the not just management, but the working class people, especially the most vulnerable workers. The government is silent, really, and that is unfortunate.
Are you seeing more calls being made to your union's office, especially with what is going on in relation to the vaccination situation right now? Are more and more workers reaching out to the unions like yours, the NWU, for representation, for instance?
Absolutely. I mean, there are people who are asking for 100 forms in groups. That is one group. And there are a number of persons calling and attending the office. And this is something that we are not seeking any leverage because of the vulnerability of workers. We are here to defend the rights and justice of the workers and also stand with our country, even the government, to ensure that we all go through this process safe and as healthy as possible, and at the end of the day that we are alive, but the rights cannot be compromised. The rights of the people must be protected. We cannot go back to the masters and servants days. We are way past that, and we're not going to sell out what we have gained, where the forefathers would have died, bled, suffer for us to be in a particular position. We are not going to allow for that to be sacrificed.
It will not go in vain. Thank you so much, Granville Valentine. Have a great day, my brother.
Listen, my friend, you take care.
Take care. Granville Valentine, ladies and gentlemen, the General Secretary of the National Workers Union, the NWU. Our time is now 18 minutes before the hour of 8 o'clock. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning here in capital city, Kingston. Hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are in Jamaica or wherever you are in the world. We broadcast on 99.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, and 99.9 on the FM band. We're streaming around the world at www.thebridge99fm.com. Further afield, we see where the Taliban over there in Afghanistan, they have outlawed barbers from shaving or trimming beards. Are you surprised? We're not surprised. We saw that coming, didn't we? Yeah, we've been talking about that. The order was issued yesterday and marks the latest in a series of restrictions placed on the country's residents based on the Taliban's strict interpretation of Islamic law. So barbers in Afghanistan's Helmand province have been banned by the Taliban from shaving or trimming beards. And that is having a ripple effect. People were saying, so why is it that everybody wants to leave Afghanistan so badly? Well, now you know, they saw this coming and many other things that are happening over there as well to the Afghans. We keep you updated as we always like to do, inform, educate, and entertain. This is Up and Go, and we're on a break. We'll be right back. All right, it's 5 minutes now past the hour of 8 o'clock, and it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. I can't give you a traffic update right now because I'm in the studio, but my guest was just arrived, could tell us what it is like on the streets. I'm giving her time to settle in to her chair. All of a sudden, there's a lot of life and beauty in the studio. I live for days like these. So, you notice the big banners behind her as we are glad, happy, you can tell, to be graced by the presence of none other than, I feel like I'm doing a stage show, none other than the one and only Venice Chinsey Parchment of Bpm Financial. So you're going to take the mic and you're going to rock the house now, Venice. And if I know you well, you could and you will.
Well, the only thing I can say is Richie B in the
There you have it. Nobody does a better Richie B imitation than Venice. Even when I call the office for business, as I sometimes do, she goes off into this, hey, what's up, Richie B? What you want is what you get. Welcome to the studios, Venice. How are you?
It's a pleasure. It's great. I'm excited.
So am I, you can tell. Tell me, what's it like out there with the traffic at this time?
Just a little traffic on Lady Musgrave Road,
Okay.
and going to Swallowfield. Minor delays, but for the most part, I'm coming from the east side. We don't have a lot of traffic.
All right, all
so
right.
you should all move
Fairly
to the
easy
east
passage.
side.
Maybe we should consider that.
If you were coming from the other side.
Yes, then maybe you'd have more of a problem.
Definitely.
All right, BPM Financial, we thank you for being one of our early bridge builders. That's what we call persons who use us, and companies like yours that use us to spread the message of what they're offering to the public. And we thank you for being one of those early signees with us here on the bridge. We appreciate that, Venice, and we say good morning to all of the members of your team. Tell us a little bit about, in terms of a backstory, a little bit about the company itself, BPM Financial.
Okay, well, it's quite easy. We have been around for 28 years. Imagine that, yes.
Wow.
So, we're not a new company. We are a financial company, portfolio management at its best. If you just want somebody to ensure that you make maximum returns without you having to stress about it or trying to figure it out, then here comes BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher in this life. So we offer a wide range of products and services, of course.
That is where I want to go to. Let's get to it.
And I figure that everybody can participate. That's the good thing about it. It's not limited.
You
to
mean the
just
big man and the small man? Everybody can participate.
Everybody can participate.
It sounds like what you're really saying is that you don't have to have a lot of money
No.
in order to participate in the investments that you offer.
That's right.
So let's dig into that a little bit more and tell us about some of the products that you actually have.
Okay, so we like to break it down into short term, medium term, and long term, right? Because it's easier for persons to understand where to place their goals, especially if it is 1 to 2 years and it is short term for us. Then that would be the 100% fixed income portfolio. Now, excellent account for short term. It's give you better returns than the bank or next door. I like to say that, wherever your next door is. But it's really investment in government paper instruments that is relatively secured.
Okay.
Right. So for short term, and pensioners use this a lot too, because in this type you have bonds, government bonds, and you get higher rates on the bonds than the regular savings account, we want to call it, but it's not savings like the bank.
Right,
You got
right.
it?
Or next door.
Or next door. So that pays 3.75%. So that's note
set.
that, right? And if it is a bond, you can get 6% or probably 6.5%,
Okay.
which is good because you have to look at inflation and how, if it beats inflation or not.
I just want to go back to a term that you used on behalf of the listeners. When you mentioned relatively secure, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well,
Playing devil's advocate.
so it's okay because sometimes persons tend to think that or believe that government paper instruments, especially bonds, are guaranteed rates of return. So while it is not guaranteed, the risk is very minimal.
Okay.
Hardly likely that anything will happen to your principal. So that's why I said relatively secure, because we can't use the word guaranteed, because nothing is really guaranteed if you look at it. And everything has risk, but different measure of risk.
Right.
So it is a matter of how much risk are you willing to take.
For persons who have a high risk appetite,
Yes.
they can sometimes make more money than others who don't.
Of course they do. And we prove that. But diversification is key. And that's why a short-term plan is good for emergency backup money, just in case something happen kind of money. Now you have the medium-term plan, which is 3 to 5 years. And that's a balanced portfolio fund. I love this account because it's well diversified.
Yes.
It is a mixture of local stocks, overseas stocks, US dollars, government paper instruments. And so that carries moderate risk.
Okay.
And why you think that carries moderate risk
Tell us.
now? Because it has stocks in it. And stocks carry risk. But the higher the risk, the higher
Greater
the returns.
You hear that, people?
Yes.
The greater the risk, the greater the return.
And therefore,
Please remember that.
we're
Yeah.
moving from a 6 or a 6.5 to earn between 12 to 16% growth rate per annum.
That's fantastic.
That's excellent.
Yeah, that's
And if you
fantastic,
think
yeah.
that sounds good,
It gets better?
it gets better.
Let me hear about that.
It gets even better because if you do long term, and long term really is anything over 5 years.
Okay.
Yes. So that's the 100% equity portfolio, right? I see you're smiling, and I'm smiling
yes.
because I mean we can tell you upfront that it works.
Yes, we can.
So that is invested in local stocks and overseas stocks. We have over 14 local companies in the mix, over 10 overseas companies like Apple, Google, MasterCard, Facebook, Alibaba,
Oddly
Netflix,
listening.
Amazon.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. And this is where you can earn between 20 to 28.9% growth rate per annum.
And this is based on a track record, I suspect, because you have it.
We have 20 years of data
Yes.
that we can give you. And you can't even take it next door.
Can't dispute
Them
it. Can't dispute it.
They can't change the
Yes,
records.
right.
Right. So, I mean,
is great
historically,
news.
we have proven ourselves to do very well in these managing the accounts. And we know when to buy, when to sell. As
Yeah.
I say, take the stress out of you trying to figure it out.
Where do you always make reference to this is where you want to be. Now, I want you to get to that point now. Where is that?
Well, you want to earn maximum returns all the time, but you have to be conscious about certain factors that exist. and one factor is inflation. Inflation eats away the purchasing power from your money. And while some persons play it conservative and because they don't want to take any risk, the risk is inflation. You have to know what is the rate all the time to know if you are behind or above. So what is the rate of inflation? Inflation right now is between 5 to 6%. And what did I say about the short term? It is good for short term, but the rates are very low. That's why you keep it for short term,
Right.
and not long term.
And this is also, I suspect, one of the reasons why you offer persons a mix of, on the US dollar side, where they can actually buy into major international companies that are doing well.
Yes.
You identify those companies and you allow your clients to actually have a piece of those investments.
Of course. And one major one we know is Amazon. Did you know that to buy one share in Amazon is over $3,000 US?
I saw it recently.
So our US portfolio, as you said, take it higher
Right.
and higher, and
Yeah.
it gets better and better. What about the global equity? Let me just
Thank
start
you.
here.
Thank you. She got it. She got to it finally.
You have to leave the best for last.
Yes. This is where you want to be, ladies and
This is
gentlemen.
where you want to be. The global equity portfolio, $5,000 US or more, and see you buy stocks that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, so?
Yes, and
You
you
hear
can
that?
earn
Loud and
between
clear. Okay.
14 to 20% growth rate per annum.
On what currency?
US dollars.
Did you hear that, my people?
Did you hear that?
She's not making this up. As a matter of fact.
Right. So, I mean, you can start with smaller amount. As we said before, $500 can give you 3.75% in the US Maximizer. And if you have $1,000 upwards, then you can start buying stocks for you.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So we have gone through a lot of your products. We've gone a lot of time has elapsed too. But I want to get to the whole matter of investment, and there are some rules of investment. Give them to us in a nutshell. I think there are 5 of them that you might want to highlight. Let's go through them.
We just picked out 5. So we're talking about starting early. It is very important. A matter of fact, it would be good if you start investing the moment you start working. Right? The earlier, the better for you because you maximize your returns. Compounding is one of the most powerful tools in the universe. So start early.
Or parents can start on behalf of their
Yes.
children.
And don't we know that we have
We know
have
that.
yes, we have a lot of parents who have taken in their kids
Right.
to start investing and have been doing very well.
Start
Okay.
early, right.
Start early, right? And number 2, take calculated risk.
What you mean by
Remember.
that, Venice?
Yes, you have to determine how much risk you're willing to take to maximize your returns.
Yeah.
And that is why we break it down into 3 different categories. Little and no risk, moderate risk, and high risk. And the higher the risk, the higher the returns. Look at the goals that you're working towards and the time that you need to achieve those goals. Yes.
I want to ask a question, and this might also tie into the tips that you're giving us in terms of the rules on investing. Should one invest money that they might need like immediately or very, very soon?
Okay. Well, good point. If you're going to need that money very soon, then do not go long term.
Don't go long
It is
term.
short term. And soon is relative again. Is soon 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Because when you talk to persons, soon, when especially
Relative.
when people say soon come.
Can be relative. Yes.
Right, it can be relative. So money that you're investing that you're going to need soon in short term should keep it in the short term plan. Definitely.
Is this one of the tips that you'd want to share also as a rule on investing? The whole matter of persons out there who don't fully understand the ramifications on investment, but they should maybe talk to professionals like yourselves.
Well, most definitely, because we are not just selling you a product. We want to educate you first. We want to ensure that you understand what you're getting into,
Right.
what is it that we're offering, so that you can make wise decisions for yourself and your family, and so that you can tell your friends and family about it as well.
Absolutely.
So education is key, and that is what we aim for first. then the sell would be easy.
I have a little notation that also points to diversification of one's portfolio, which you intimated at earlier, but you can just expand a little bit more that whole matter of diversifying one's portfolio to maximize your returns, yeah?
All right, so diversification comes in different categories. Some people like to diversify by institutions. So they have a little money here, a little money there. I don't do that.
Okay.
I do it by instruments in terms of risk. So I will have my stock portfolio. I have a matter of fact, the way how I diversify is the same three-prong approach: short-term, medium-term, long-term. So little and no risk, moderate and aggressive based off the goals that I have.
Okay.
So like for my children education,
yes,
that's definitely long-term because of course I started earlier.
Right.
Right? And then I have my project money. That would be the balance fund. Yes. So I use up that money every now and then and replace it.
Yes.
And then my emergency money is there in the short-term plan. So I don't keep a lot of money there.
Yeah.
I know persons call me, and one lady said she wanted to set up an emergency fund, and she's going to put $1 million in there. Like, what?
Yeah.
What could befall you? Right. So diversification is key, but you have to be careful. And of course, after speaking with the client, I mean, $1 million was obviously too much.
Yes, to go into
in
that
short
fund,
term.
yes.
Unless you know
No matter
that
how
you're
much money
going
you
to, unless you're going to purchase a property or do something major, then you would keep the money in short term. But otherwise, no, you're not going to make a lot of money.
Time flies when you're having fun. Where
That's
can you be
right.
found? Where can you be contacted? How many branches do you have? Give us some deets on that.
Okay, so we're at Holborn Road, 1A Holborn Road, Kingston 10. You can call us at 926-0849. We're also in Montego Bay. Yes, and it is easy to find us in Montego Bay because if you know Knoxwood Express, we are right across from Knoxwood Express. That's upstairs Sagicor Bank.
Yes.
Yes, so it's easy to find us in Montego Bay. The same numbers would apply because if you
876-926-0849, so you can get either to Kingston or
that's a
or
good
on the
thing,
Montego Bay
because
branch.
if the phone rings in Kingston and no one answers, you
Somebody's
end up in
Montego Bay.
Montego Bay. So you time travel people. And then they will send you back to Kingston. So it doesn't matter where
okay.
you are, but it's quite
So
easy.
one number will connect you to either of the locations. 876-926-0849. This is The Bridge 99 FM. We're broadcasting across Jamaica on 99 on the FM band, and we're streaming around the world at www.thebridge99fm.com. At the minute, we're also being listened to and carried via www.irijamradio.com. And we say hello also to our friends in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, where our parent company and sister company as well, Jam Radio, is located. We're very pleased at this time to be joined by the president of the People's National Party, Mr. Mark Golding, who is our guest on the telephone at this time. Good morning, Mr. Golding. How are you?
Morning, Richie B. I'm well, and good morning to your listeners here and all over the world.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. We haven't spoken for a minute. A lot has been happening, and we want to get to it right away. First of all, Mark, let's look at some of the things that are happening as it relates to what the government is either doing or not doing. I know that you've been quite vocal as a party in relation to the crime statistics and what is happening on the crime front here in this country. What are your perspectives on how the government is handling the crime situation, and do you have strategies that you would like to recommend that should be adopted at this time?
Well, unfortunately, the crime situation in the country is very bad and has got significantly worse this year over last year. Murders are up 10% in Jamaica this year. And it's quite clear the government really doesn't have a strategy for dealing with this. They were relying on states of emergency and other repressive measures. That was taken to court. The Constitutional Court ruled that the use of the state of emergency as a crime-fighting tool was unconstitutional. And since then, we have really heard nothing more about what they plan to do about this situation. We believe that we need a balanced approach to tackling crime. First of all, the emphasis has been under this government on strengthening the JDF and allowing the JCF really to remain in a stagnant situation in terms of numbers. We need to strengthen the police force and then enable them to do their jobs effectively, especially in the areas of investigation, case management, and ultimately resulting in accountability for those who break the law through effective prosecutions. Mm-hmm. We also feel that the balanced approach means we need to tackle the root causes of crime in this country, which are largely to do with deficits in social investment, especially in the areas where we have very high levels of crime. So we're talking about parenting skills, we're talking about the standard of the early childhood institutions and primary schools in those areas, leveling those up so that we have all our children ready for secondary school by the time they come of age. We're talking about providing opportunities for youths who leave school without subjects so that they don't go off the straight and narrow and aren't enmeshed in the culture of gunmanism and badmanism and so on, but giving them the tools really to become constructive citizens of the country through mentoring, training, remedial education, and so on. This is very important because you can't repress people into being good citizens. You need to provide them with opportunities, and we don't think this government understands that. They have denuded the Peace Management Initiative, for example, which was quite successful in bringing levels of crime, especially reprisals, down in communities where it was rolled out. We had the Unite for Change initiative under the last PNP administration, which was really bringing all stakeholders together to try and focus on uplifting youths who might otherwise go off the right path. Those were abandoned by the present government and not replaced with anything meaningful. So we feel the strategy is wrong, and the next PNP government will focus on having a balanced approach that tackles the root causes of crime through appropriate social investments in the areas where it's much needed.
Okay. Let us turn our attention now, Mark Golding, to your views on what is happening with the pandemic and the government's handling of it. And again, similar treatment, some of the suggestions that you would like to put forward to the government for consideration.
Well, unfortunately, the government really took some political decisions which resulted in the pandemic getting out of control in Jamaica. The first of those was the calling of the general election last year, just in the aftermath of opening up for emancipation in 2020. And this resulted in community spread taking hold in Jamaica. Then over the Christmas period, we allowed an influx of people from overseas without proper monitoring of their behavior while they were here. The quarantine restrictions were allowed to be flouted, and we had a very serious second wave in the early part of the year. Then in late June, early July, they decided to open up entertainment events, and this was in the context where the levels of vaccination were very low, the lowest in the region other than Haiti. And the Delta virus was spreading all across the world. And with our very open borders, it was quite predictable that it would be here if it wasn't already here. And now we have a terrible third wave with the hospitals being overwhelmed. You know, we've had over 1,800 people dying of COVID, most of them this year, and so on. We've had problems with oxygen and the procurement of oxygen, resulting in people allegedly dying from a lack of oxygen in hospitals. The situation has been very poorly managed. We have suggested that the government needs to expand the vaccination program so that it can be brought into the communities and encourage people to take it. At this point in time, we're not in favor of mandatory vaccination because we feel the level of hesitancy in the population and outright objection to vaccination is still far too high to try and force people to take it against their will. But we need to sell the idea of it through proper communication of the facts and the science behind it and make it readily available to people. And that, I think, attempts have been made to do that recently, but we feel it's a bit late and we feel it needs to be intensified, especially the public education aspect of it.
All right. There are some who vow that they will never take it, and it seems like that is making up a great percentage of our people. That would pose a challenge, I suspect, to any government, Mark.
Oh, it would. But the truth is that I've encountered people who have taken that position, and through gentle persuasion and showing them the facts, they have changed their mind. And in fact, some of them are now strong supporters of it, of getting vaccinated, having been vaccinated themselves. So I don't think people's positions are hard and fast. You know, there's a sort of spectrum of views on the matter, and there are many people who are hesitant because they're unsure and they want to be reassured about it through proper information. Yes, there are a few people who, for religious or other reasons, are dead against it, and those people have their right not to be vaccinated.
Mm-hmm. On to another matter. Why does the People's National Party think that it is critical for there to be further, and as you put it, full disclosure from Minister Vaz in relation to the visa matter?
Minister Vaz is a member of Cabinet and represents the people of Jamaica at the highest level of government. He applied for, apparently, a waiver in order to be given a visa, a personal visa. He got a one-year visa, but the terms of that waiver were that they were granted under a provision in U.S. immigration law, which is applicable to persons who have some connection or association with drug trafficking. And we feel that that requires clear disclosure as to the circumstances behind that waiver and the revocation of his visa, as to why it is that that section of the waiver provision was used. In his case, what is, if any, is his connection with any kind of drug trafficking. He needs to clarify this. If he's not willing to clarify it, in my view, he's not fit to serve in that high position and should step down, or should be made to step down by the Prime Minister if he refuses to do so. But he must clarify the situation. The ball is in his court to do so, and I urge him to do so quickly.
At this stage, then, you're not specifically asking for him to resign. Is that? Am I correct with that interpretation?
Correct. No, we have not called for him to resign. We've called for him to make full and frank disclosure as to the circumstances around his the revocation of his visa and the grant of a waiver under a provision which suggests some association with drug trafficking. He needs to clarify what happened, why that is the case, and based on that clarification, a decision can be made by the public and indeed by us as to whether or not it is sufficient for him to remain in the position he holds or whether he should move on. We haven't prejudged that situation.
Have you put a timeline on that request? And if it's not met, then maybe further calls or actions might be taken by the PNP?
Yes, we haven't sort of given him a deadline for doing so yet. But we called for him to do so on Saturday. Today is Tuesday. We think, if he doesn't do so in the next day or two, then, further action on our part would be warranted.
Okay. You're not care, do you care to say what kind of action might be next?
I don't want to be preemptive of that, Richie. We'll have to hear what he says.
Yes.
He's coming to Parliament today to make a statement, for example. That's an opportunity for him to bring the kind of clarity to the position that we've asked for.
Okay.
And so, I don't want to prejudge what he's going to say today in Parliament.
Got you. Having looked outwardly, can we now look inwardly in terms of what's happening with the People's National Party? The recent Don Anderson poll said 19% of the people that were targeted think that you're doing a poor job as the opposition leader. Mark Golding, what is your response to that?
Well, 19% may think so, but that suggests that, the 81% don't think that. So, that's a positive thing in a sense. Look, I'm new to the leadership of the party. I was elected in November last year. Before that, I was not seeking a public profile. I was very happy to serve as part of a team and bring the skills that I have, somebody who's been successful in business, a leading corporate lawyer, somebody who has a clean reputation out there to assist my party and to assist the people of Jamaica as best I can. So I think I need to be to get to know the people of Jamaica, or rather allow them to get to know me better. Unfortunately, because of COVID and so on, some of the programs that we had in mind and had started in terms of that process, we had to curtail from February onwards. So, and there are a lot of issues in the party that we've been resolving. We've had to really work hard to get the internal structures of the party to work as they should. We've been trying to build unity within the party through a unity committee. We've established the OT Fairclough Fund, which is now actively assisting indigent party workers. We have a junior shadow cabinet. I want to encourage them to be more active. And so we've been doing a lot of things. And importantly, we've been sending the signal that, unity is important and we're fully behind it, but also in discipline, in terms of how the party's affairs are conducted, will not be permitted or tolerated any longer. So, the organs of the party that have been set up to achieve that are now working. And I think this is an important step forward for the party because we have been, I think, plagued by a lack of attention to the need for internal discipline, especially in the way in which our members communicate with the public. You know, we don't see, for example, our main opponent in the political sphere behaving that way. And I think we have lessons to learn in that regard, and I think we're learning them now.
There's a demonstration recently. Did you see that demonstration at the party HQ as an act of indiscipline, for instance?
Well, that was a very small gathering. I think it was 6 or 7 persons who attended. They have a right to express themselves as they see fit, as long as they are not breaching any laws. So, no, I'm not really focused on that at all.
Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, Mr. Golding, we rise this morning to the news that one of the participants in that demonstration, Karen Cross, has been expelled. Some would form the view that it has to do with her appearance at that demonstration, or it could be other matters. I don't know if you care to say.
Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with that demonstration. The disciplinary committee had met in June, I think it was June the 23rd, to hear complaints that had been made against Karen Cross for her behavior over the period from October to April in respect of certain social media postings that she had made, which were deemed to have brought the party into disrepute. And they made findings of fact on that and made some recommendations. Their report was sent to the officers, or some of the officers of the party, in mid-July, and we brought it to the executive committee for adjudication under the Constitution on last night. And the executive deliberated on the matter long and hard, very respectfully, and it was felt by the vast majority of the members of the executive that the facts as found in that report from the disciplinary committee warranted the firmest possible action, and she was expelled from the party with immediate effect. She does have a right of appeal under the Constitution, which she may choose to invoke or not. That's up to her. But as it stands now, she has been expelled from the People's National Party.
You might have heard, or you might not have, but she spoke with us earlier this morning, and she found the matter of the expulsion from the party. We're talking about Karen Cross. She found it quite laughable, and will in fact, she says, continue being a member of the PNP. That was her reaction to that development. I'm just putting that forward.
I didn't hear it, and I would choose not to comment on that.
Right. Going forward, though, Mark Golding, how do you intend to restore not just unity, but confidence in the People's National Party? Do you find that very challenging a task to accomplish?
I think that we are making strides forward in terms of getting to a better place of understanding within the party. There's been it's not something that arose overnight. We have had issues internally for some time. We've had several leadership contests that have each left some issues behind, but we are working hard to resolve those. In terms of confidence, I think that we have been quite effective in bringing the government to book. So far, we've been our voice has been heard, I think not by everybody and as much as we would like, but it has had an impact on the government's behavior in certain respects. And I think we need to communicate as well as possible, improve our communication. And I think also we need to finish up the process now underway of really assessing our philosophical approach as a progressive movement in the third decade of the 21st century, so that we can articulate a clear vision of what we stand for that will resonate with the people of Jamaica, that they will understand what the PNP is all about now. And our policy program needs to be responsive to the key issues facing the country. And that is what we are working on. And I'm confident that when we roll that out, the people of Jamaica will find it positive and will respond to us, because the government is really making a hash of it in so many areas, whether it be COVID, whether it be crime, whether it be the cost of living and so on. Their response to the hardships being faced by the Jamaican people. We are seeing, for example, the prices of basic food items have gone through the roof, and the government has really done nothing to assist the people for over a year, and people are really struggling. We're seeing, the electricity is going to be increased in price. And we, at a time when the economy is going through such a hard time, they're even talking about raising interest rates when the economy needs to recover. There are a lot of issues that the people of Jamaica will depend on us to advocate for. on their behalf, and we will continue to do so. So I believe it's a question of getting our message across more effectively, being on the ground, getting the public to know the leader of the party, the new leader, and having a policy platform which answers the critical questions of our time facing this country.
All right. Just before you go, Mark Golding, since you took over the reins of the People's National Party, maybe in your quiet times you reflect on a lot of things. There's always going to be some for and some against. But if I should ask you to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your leadership of the PNP since you took over, would you care to say what grade you'd give yourself?
Well, I really wouldn't think it's my role to grade myself, but what I would tell you is that there's always room for improvement.
Yes.
I'm a learner, but I have come to this whole thing with a clean heart and clean hands and the intellectual capacity to learn and improve, and that's what I'm doing.
All right. I wish you well, Mark. Always great talking with you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go, The Bridge, 99 FM.